What's up, bro? How you doing? I'm gonna go over the wedge on bench today. So essentially what we're trying to do is wedge ourselves between the bar and the pad, right? And to do that, we're gonna drive our shoulders down into the bench while pushing and pulling on the bar at the same time. I'll go over that here in a second. But essentially you're trying to squeeze the entire length of your arm on between the bench and the pad, right? When this distance is smaller than this, right? So that creates the wedge. When it take height out of the pad by driving our shoulders into it and creating lots of tension. At the same time, our legs are going to be driving back, are going to be driving our shoulders back and down into the pad. So that's going to create the arch, right? As your shoulders go in and your legs drive back, it creates the arch. So we'll go over that here. So step number one is going to be retraction of the shoulder blades, right? So we want to shorten the distance between our shoulders and the bar by pulling those shoulders back and down, right? So when I start, I pull my shoulders back first. So I'm going to lay down, right? So when I'm here, I'm already pulling my shoulders back, right? So I'm going to set my grip and I'm pulling my shoulders back, right? This is retracted, protracted, and using my legs, I'm going to push back and down, right? So I'm trying to get up onto that higher part of my shoulder as I'm on the bench. So again, retract your shoulders with your legs pushed down and back. So as you're seeing, I'm trying to squeeze my entire arm underneath that bar, right? And that's going to create the tension to get that bar off the rack. So here, to unrack the bar, it's just an extension of the triceps instead of getting our shoulders out of position, right? So we'll go over it again. Pull the shoulders back, legs drive back and down. Here, triceps, and then I guess that's part one. All right, bro. Going over part two, which is going to be the actual unrack of the bar, right? So as I said initially, our arch is going to come from shoulder retraction and scapular depression, right? So what I want you to think is, right, we wedged ourselves under the bar, we unrack. Now to pull the bar out over our sternum or over our contact point, what we want to do is pull the shoulders away from the ears, right? So for here, you want to take those traps, pull them away from your ears, make that chest big. Drive your chest in between your arms. Boom, right here. So what that's going to do is reduce our range of motion and give you a stronger pressing mechanism, right? So instead of pressing here with shoulders protracted coming down, we're going to press from here. A lot less range of motion. You got your entire back involved. You'll have a better chest drive, more tricep activation right here, less range of motion, right? Because instead of having to push this distance, we're not pushing this distance. So I'm going to move you over here so you can see how I pull my shoulder blades away. All right, let's get to it. So same thing. I set my grip first. I usually go about ring fingers on the ring. This is my competition style. I'm going to set up, pull the shoulder blades back, leg drive, down and back, drive myself up the bench, triceps, shoulders. All right. All it is pull the shoulders away. And that's your basic bench setup, bro. All right, bro. So this next video is going to be over leg drive and how to achieve proper leg drive. So feet placement is important because it's going to determine how much leg drive you get out of your motion, right? The basics of it is, for the most part, you're going to place your feet where you're comfortable. One, right? Some people like to take a wider stance because it feels good to them. Some people like to take a very narrow stance. If you notice, I take a narrow stance. Where you point your feet is also going to be more so personal preference and what way you feel you can create the most pressure back. But the most basic thing is your leg drive is essentially like you scooting yourself back in the seat, right? So you place your feet. I like to say screw your feet in, right? Same way we do in bench, starting with the big toe, create external rotation, set your heel, and from here, it's the way to get your quads involved. Just push yourself back, right? And it's going to be a constant thing through your entire setup. So that's the way that I create drive down and back into the bench. So make sure you can see my legs. I like to sit towards the edge of the bench, lay down, right? I put my feet under me because that's kind of more or less where I'm gonna drive from, is where I feel the strongest. You'll see some people drive from out here, some people drive from out here, some people stay up on their toes. The whole heels down is more so for the specific federation. So I'm just gonna teach you what will work with every federation. So feet are under me, I'm on my toes. I'm gonna set everything up here, shoulders retracted, grip is set. Now I'm coming up on my toes. I'm gonna push back, right? At the same time, hips high. I'm trying to get my shoulder blades down and back into the bench. Now I'm forcing my heels down, which is gonna push me further back. And I'm set. A big one that I need to discuss is bracing on bench, right? So every single rep that we do needs to be a new brace. So when you unrack, you set your shoulders, butt down. You're gonna breathe big into your abdomen. So what that's gonna do is possibly create a higher point of contact, possibly. But more than anything, it's gonna create tension through our entire setup, and it's give you the strongest point to press from. Right? You can't press if you don't have any tension built up. You can't press strong, at least. Right? So we're gonna get our brace. That's when you start your descent. You're gonna hold that brace until you complete the rep, right? Contact point, press. You're gonna rebreathe before every single rep. Super important. You make every single rep as crispy as possible. Make every single rep like if it was a single, and breathe every single rep, right? If you're doing high reps, sometimes you can get away with doing 2 reps in one breath. You're going a little faster, but we want to get into good habits. Every single rep, we re-brace, create the strongest point to press from, right? Why would we want to press from a point of weakness when we have the ability to press from a point of strength? So, all right, what's going on, guys? Today, we're going to be discussing 2 key things for the bench setup. One's going to be grip, and the other one's going to be, I guess, the second, like a tip for the wedge, I guess. All right, so when we're benching, a lot of times we end up with our hand directly over our wrist, and when we go to unrack, we end up folding back, and it makes the bar sit behind our elbow, right? So the bar ends up sitting here instead of directly stacked over our wrist. So what we do to mitigate that and to get a stronger press, we always want to have our wrist stacked over our elbows, but we also want the bar directly over our wrist, right? We don't want the bar pushing our wrist back. We want it directly over it, so the force transfers directly into the bar when we press. So to achieve that, we're gonna set up our grip by turning our hands in. So instead of the bar sitting directly across our hand, we turn our hand in so that the bar sits diagonally across our hand, which puts it directly over our wrist when we go to unrack, right? It's going to be a stronger point to press from. Second is going to be a tip for the wedge, right? Not only are we trying to squeeze our entire arm length in between the bar and the pad, but we're also trying to pull the bar towards the front of us, right? So it's creating tension into our lats, like if we were doing a lat pullover, right? Pulling that chest between our arms. Same thing on the bench, right? So we're gonna set our grip, however wide you do it, right? I like to set the bar where it's gonna be. I keep my hands open up until I push back. I'm already in shoulder retraction, and I'm gonna pull that bar towards the front of the hook. You see a lot of people start with the bar towards the back of the hook, and I mean, I just think it creates a stronger position if that bar has nowhere to go, right? It's already pushed up against the front of the hook, right? We're gonna use it to create leverage and wedge ourselves in. So track the shoulders, use the legs to drive back, and pull down on the bar, right? We're here. It's just tricep, shoulders. There we go. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go over, I guess, like the front side of setting up. I guess they call it the bulldog grip. I don't exaggerate it that much. I just try to get the bar to sit, you know, across the palm of my hand this way. But a big tip that I have is try to squeeze when you're pulling out, like you're breaking the bar, right? You're trying to pull up against that bar. You unrack, you're out here. We want to squeeze hard through our pinkies as we descent, right? And as we press too, really pushing down on top of that bar. It's gonna help us get a little more lat activation, right? Help us drive a little better. Any little thing to get a couple more pounds out of this bench press. So I go ring finger on the ring, turn my arms in, right? So you can see that bar is sitting across my palm rather than here. It's sitting here. I'm gonna pull forward on that bar. Use it to help me leverage in. Here we go. Pressing hard through the pinkies.